We have a legend making his way into the studio. Gotta say hi to Dick Cavett. He's here to promote the Dick Cavett Show, Rock Icons. It's a 3-disc DVD set featuring 9 episodes from 1969 to 1974, featuring Janis Joplin, David Bowie, George Harrison, Sly and the Family Stone, Stevie Wonder, and many more. I'm stalling here. Get him in here. Highlights include 3 episodes with Janis Joplin and the Woodstock Show, taped the day after the festival with Jefferson Airplane, Joni Mitchell, David Crosby, and Stephen Stills. He just went to the bathroom. This was the big intro. This was my big radio intro for the legend, Dick Cavett. I was going to, do this whole thing. He walks in, and he's like, thank you, thank you, thank you. Good to be here, blah, blah, blah. And then we start our interview. But instead, now we have to stall. This show is just...
I've never seen that happen.
Eric, I just want one segment to work on this program. Just one.
I blame Hawk for this one.
I just want to come back from break and have one smooth segment from beginning to end. That's all I ask.
You're not getting smooth or slick.
We've been doing this radio thing a long time. We just want one smooth segment. We want perfect questions. We want some laughs, some thoughts being provoked and thrown back and forth.
Thought-provoking.
We want you as a listener to sit there in your car and go,
I don't think we're very thought-provoking.
We're trying. We're trying.
I don't know.
We're trying to have all different, textures.
I'd like to. Yeah,
What's the matter with you?
Now we're just sitting here. I had the big intro.
That was one of my lines, my acting.
All right, here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, making his way into the studio, Dick Cavett, promoting the Dick Cavett Show, Rock Icons, 3-disc DVD set, available August 16th, 2005. That is, it's out today, right? It's out today, featuring 9 episodes from 1969 to 1974, featuring Janis Joplin, David Bowie, George Harrison, Sly and the Family Stone, Stevie Wonder, and many more. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Cavett.
Yes. There he is.
Hi, this is Bob. Joined the Peace Corps Hope. I'm sorry, I had to do that.
I was giving you the big intro, and then you went to the bathroom on me.
Not on you. I want to clear that out.
You know how expensive that would be?
I went on it near you.
We're trying to be professional
David Lloyd,
broadcasters.
the great comedy writer. Say again?
We were trying to be professional broadcasters, give you the respect that you deserve and a nice intro. And then you're just wandering around the halls.
I know, it shows no respect at all, but that's my generation, we don't give a darn.
No, you can say shit.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. This guy sitting here,
Jimmy Norton,
made me laugh so hard so many times.
Really?
That it was nice today to be able to see him and realize that he really exists.
Where have you seen Jimmy?
I haven't seen him, but friends tell me about it.
Oh, is that it? He is very funny.
Oh, that's a great honor. Thank you.
We love our little Jimmy.
Tough Crowd.
Yeah.
Oh, you've seen him on Tough Crowd?
I didn't notice when that left us.
Yeah, they canceled us in, I think, we knew by November of last year that we were done.
Wasn't that a great show?
Oh.
You get all kinds of views on a bunch of different subjects.
I know how it feels to be canceled.
Yeah, you've had that happen a couple of times. But, man, you just keep coming back, don't you?
Whenever it happened to me, I always was kind of exhilarated by it.
Really?
It meant, there'll be something new.
That's true, and there always was.
It was true several times over.
Yeah, you definitely have had your share of firings.
Yeah.
But
look at me. I'm still got my head high and...
Yeah.
I'm a regular little soldier. What the hell am I talking about?
You carved out an interesting niche, though. I don't think there's anybody that you could really compare to Dick Cavett, because you were in movies as an actor.
Well,
You've done the interview shows, which are great. You have a credibility as an interviewer, yet you were part of the subculture of the '60s. That you appeared on Laugh-In, and I don't think you could really find anybody that is similar to a Dick Cavett today.
Gosh, I wish I could help you with this problem.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering if you thought of anybody that kind of fits the same bill as you in today's world.
I probably don't think in those terms.
No?
I always just thought maybe something will come along again and stay on as long as you can. And on the ABC network, people said, you might want to kind of brace yourself, because anything that goes more than 5 weeks... Was it Milton Berle who said to end the Vietnam War, put it on ABC?
Oh, yeah.
And it'll be canceled. It'll be canceled in 3 weeks.
Brilliant.
That's a great line. And you got something in common with Dick Cavett, Anthony.
I do.
Yeah, I'm reading his bio here.
Could be nothing.
He struck friendships with Stan Laurel, Woody Allen, and Groucho Marx.
Yeah.
You know, I've been goofed on.
Anthony's a vampire.
Relentlessly.
He used to hang out with Groucho
But
Marx.
I did not hang
And
out.
look how good he still
As
looks.
a child, I met Groucho shortly before he died in
Gosh.
the mid-'70s. And they keep talking about me like I was hanging out with him.
Your best buddy, Groucho.
Yeah, me and Groucho were hanging out back in the 40s. No, of course. When did you meet Groucho?
I never met any of the other brothers, but Groucho I met, we could find out the day if we had to. It was the day after I met Woody Allen. I was sent by The Tonight Show to go scout this comic at the Blue Angel. And
Anyone of note?
Allen got very few laughs and turned and left the stage after a while.
You were scouting out Woody Allen at the
For
time?
the Parr Show.
Oh,
was it Jack
I was
Parr
working
show?
for the
Wow.
Parr Show, and they said there's this kid.
crap.
There's a kid. He wrote for Sid Caesar when he was 17. I thought, Jesus, I've got to know this guy. Called him. Voice didn't sound familiar. Thank you very much. Let people wonder what I'm talking about.
Starbucks coffee.
Starbucks it's bargain coffee. And after the show, I went and Woody was sitting in the lounge of the Blue Angel, and he said they usually don't laugh very much at me, but he and his manager were in the act of deciding whether this was a good idea for him to be a performer. We both were saddened by the death of the great George S. Kaufman, who Groucho always referred to as his god. And we agreed to go to his funeral. And Woody didn't go, but I did. Sat down in a side room. It was overflow. The great Moss Hart was doing the eulogy and saying, I can hear George in the casket behind me saying it needs cutting. And a classy character he was. And then I thought, Jesus, that is Groucho Marx, 4 feet from me, with a cigar, not lighted, and that fabulously intelligent face, and all looking. And,
What year was this?
you know, I ain't sure, but it would be in the early '60s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I followed him to the corner, and he left with 2 people, and 2 people left him, Art Carney and somebody else. And
Man.
it was.
Star-studded.
In the crowd out front of the funeral house when it broke up, you'd hear things like, "Hi, Groucho, I'm Edna Ferber," and I thought, I'm a long way from Nebraska.
Yeah. Well, is that your only contact with Groucho, or did you?
No, I probably had 100 more contacts with
Yeah.
Groucho, but I wrote for him for 2 weeks when he took over the Tonight Show for 2 weeks between Carson and Parr, and I was at his house a lot, and he wrote me a lot. One letter I found the other day, I don't know how I could handle it so carelessly. He said, I saw you on the Griffin Show and liked what I saw. I think you've hit a mother lode with the idea of the Rube in the Ivy League. I've started it in my act, write stuff about I was from Nebraska, but I went to Yale, and they laughed at my shoes. And I didn't know him better than to wear brown and white shoes, and the white one kept getting dirty. It was one surefire laugh. I just proved now. Every time I saw him, I was afraid I was seeing him for the last time.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody remind me, I'm on the album, the Groucho album of Carnegie Hall, because I introduced him. And I had just begun being on television, and when I stepped up from the audience onto the Carnegie Hall stage, there was this fabulous, thunderous applause. And I started to step back, thinking I've walked in on somebody's entrance.
Hey, you were with Jack Parr in the 60s, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the Walter Winchell back and forth that him and Parr had, where I think Winchell would badmouth Parr in the paper, and he was like arrogant, and apparently everybody was afraid of him, and Parr really gave him a good smashing.
Yes, Jack did. He had another one with Dorothy Kilgallen, if anyone in this room is old enough to remember What's My Line.
Ant?
He just...
I never.
Jack didn't.
Not first run.
Jack didn't get elaborate or mince words. He just said, "You have no chin." And but yeah, Jack gave as good as he got, and certainly with Winchell.
And he won, right? Didn't he win? Like Winchell, they said, was unbeatable, and everybody was afraid of him. Going up against this monster in the press, and Parr just wasn't afraid of him, and just really gave him a good beating, which I loved.
Yeah, I don't know how much that contributed to Winchell's decline. He fell in love with me somewhere. Called my apartment, I don't know how, and said, "Do you want to go to the Copa tonight?" The Copa to see. Tony Bennett or somebody. It wasn't Tony. And I suddenly found myself out on the town with this scurrilous journalist, heavy supporter of red baiting and blacklist and all that stuff. But he had become a sad old man in a tuxedo that was, if it wasn't a little frayed, he made it look like it was by wearing it. He had a .38 in his belt and his cummerbund, and he used to spend all his nights following police calls.
Really?
Wow. Yeah. Winchell?
Winchell would do. The police gave him a special radio, the real one, and he still had it, and it was quite sad. I'm so tempted to say, you're one of the most hated men the world has ever produced. Is that pleasant?
It's a little odd to be driving around listening to police calls.
And, oh, God, and one police place we went to, the scene of a crime or something, and a kid said to Winchell, "Oh, hey, oh, do it again. Talk, say something." And Winchell did, and he was the voice of the untouchables on television. He wasn't seen.
Yeah.
But that, like his "Good evening, Mr. North American, all the ships at sea, let's go to press," was, he was so tickled that a young person knew his voice when he had dominated the business at one point.
Yeah.
Almost as big as Arthur Godfrey.
Now, you obviously very involved in television in the 60s. And what do you think of what's out there today? Just a general picture, reality television
is
journalism today.
Say again?
Things like reality television.
I haven't watched any reality. I watched the first one and was satisfied. The first one, where the guy was walking around naked with his
Survivor.
The first Survivor?
Yeah, and I saw what it was like, and
because now it's just, every night there's 4 or 5 or 6 shows on that are just a group of, ordinary people doing stuff in certain situations.
Eating unsightly worms.
Fear
as
factor.
Opposed to the pretty little worms that we all eat. It doesn't interest me very much. I kind of see why some of them I kind of think, gee, I may ought to catch that, but I usually don't. Television's largely junk, and it probably always will be, because look how much of it they have to fill.
It's just it's so hard to find clever writing anymore, or anything that takes any real talent or creativity out there, and
they still use laugh track or where the laugh goes bah, bah, and then that's, Jeez. Groucho said that the laugh track was writing because you didn't have to be good anymore. The machine will always laugh.
They'll always laugh. You never get that feedback from a live audience.
Do you ever? This is one of the things I always find, like when audition. I get, like you said, there's so many channels to fill and stuff, but this whole obsession that there is now with likability, with comedian, it's just revolting that they are so obsessed with somebody being likable.
That's interesting. Yes, that is true. And if I never see, oh God, I'll clear the room with this. If I never see another stand-up comic, I won't feel the loss. So many are so good. So few have anything more than likability that they're peddling. And there's always one 350-pound black woman who makes fun of her morbid obesity. And if you stay tuned, there'll be a 355-pound white comic with that kind of obesity. I don't know how it works, where it looks like great bags of water. And at the risk of seeing one of those again, I pretty much don't watch.
Just write it off. Yeah.
But it was a fun time when I was in the village and wondering who the little creepy looking guy was with the spidery hands, and it was Bob Dylan going from club to club trying to get him.
Wow.
Get in somewhere for that night and play something.
He knew Bob Dylan before Bob Dylan made it. That's amazing to me. He was just It's amazing to me that you knew Bob Dylan walking around the village before anyone knew.
Yeah, several times I thought, I'm going to ask somebody who that is. You do see.
And he was just walking around trying to get on a stage somewhere in the village, right?
It seemed so. Yeah, that's apparently what he was doing, because he wasn't anyone anybody'd heard of.
Right.
Did you ever go into Cafe Fiend John in the village?
Which one is that?
It was just like a little cafe where musicians would play and like go up and play, and a guy named Manny, who then owned the Comedy Cellar, wouldn't let Bob Dylan on because he didn't think he had any talent. You know? And
he's the head of the NBC.
Well, but Manny always loved it, you know, because he showed us in Dylan's biography. He mentioned that the only guy that wouldn't let him on was Menachem Dorman. He was just so happy, like, yeah, I got fucked up.
He's the guy.
We're gonna send him a little medal or something to commemorate this. No, I used to see the darndest people. Cosby would be at the bitter end. I would be at the bitter end. Once I survived dying unbearably my first night at the bitter end. Silence records. The record-breaking silence.
Oh.
And I sort of screwed it up myself. I was nervous, and I thought Jack Rollins, and it was Woody's manager and mine, and a lot of people. Jack will be surprised at how good I'm going to be, because I was a magician in high school, and I've always worked with audiences, and I ad-libbed, and I could feel sweat damming up. It dammed up over my eyebrows, and ever so often it released a drop. And I thought, you can't reach up and wipe it off. It'll admit you're sweating. Oh, God. I have no idea how I got off that stage that night, but it was to the sound of my feet only.
How long into it did you know, I'm a dead man? This is not going to be recovered?
I swear my life flashed before my eyes a number of times.
Anyone tell you good job when you walked off? Or couldn't even fake that?
Jack, being the classy man that he is, left about 5 minutes into my 8 minutes that I survived. And sort of waited outside, and he said, well, lad, you what we call fouled out tonight, but tomorrow night you be ready, you're going to go on at the Improv.
Yeah.
And I thought, Jack, look at this mess we have here, me and... No, it's good. You'll be glad. You'll do better. I went on at the Improv the next night with the identical material, and can you see it coming?
Killed.
Yeah.
I've seen that exact thing happen to Jim Norton as he goes around town.
Yeah.
You bomb 5 minutes later on another set, you're doing great. Or the worst is, though, when you have a great set, and then you go to the next club, and you just start dying like an animal.
And
That's
you know
the
you're
worst.
doing the exact same thing. The energy and the rhythm is right, and for some reason the audience is different. It's really strange.
Amazing.
Colin quoted some comedian. I don't remember who the comedian was, but the comedian said, never blame the audience, even though it's always their fault.
Yeah, that's good.
I wish I could.
That's profound.
Who was your favorite comic that you saw or interviewed or just in general? Who did you think was the best?
I always find it hard if I make the mistake of answering that question. I find later that I was wrong.
How about one that just
but
really...
there's so many so different. I couldn't pick out a winner.
How about following? Was there one guy you hated to follow? Because a lot of guys, they hated following prior, like especially in the 70s in the Comedy Store.
Oh, well, if I'd had the chance to follow prior, I would have hated that too. Yeah.
Was Lenny working the Improv when you did it, Lenny Bruce, or Carlin? I know Carlin worked that.
No, they're a little older, but I did see Lenny Bruce at Carnegie Hall, and I saw him again in a concert at San Francisco. It said a concert, Lenny Bruce. And I didn't know what to say to him in the dressing room. He said he didn't know me, and I said, will you be doing other concerts? And he said, if my hands allow me.
Who was you've interviewed everybody. I mean, you're just legendary for having spoken to everybody somebody has spoken to you at one point.
It seems that way, doesn't it?
Was there one that you remember that was just a really rough one? A
rough one.
Like a bad interview.
The first time I had William F. Buckley on, he really scared me. And I had somebody tell me once when I was at Yale that you should go over and hear this guy who's lecturing tonight at the he's the most dangerous man in America. So I went and saw Bill Buckley. And he was wonderful and entrancing and hypnotic and strange and intelligent and all kinds of things. In the middle of the clunky interview I was doing with him, I said, "Oh, I'm not familiar with that." And he said, "You don't seem to be familiar with anything."
Ooh. Ooh.
I've never understood why he would do that to me or anybody.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've ever thought he was nasty, except when he tried to, when he called Gore Vidal a queer and threatened to, "I'll punch you in the face and you will stay plastered," is the exact wording of Buckley's tough talk.
Tough guy.
Yeah.
Well worded, but
Quite worded. But I don't know what I did. I remember flashing into sweat. Just chung, and saying, "Oh, I'm familiar with everything."
Yeah, there's really no
you get defensive
to that one. Hey, Buster.
I went on to like him as much as anybody. He's my wife and I ran into him in the Caribbean and sported around, and he's really an excellent fellow, except for that one awful moment in his life when he decided to say to someone, wherever it was, "You don't seem to be familiar with anything."
you think he was being a creep, or was he just trying to be William F. Buckley for you? Like sometimes guys.
I don't know. Maybe he was. Maybe I should have been prepared for that. Years later, he said on the show, as Oscar Wilde said, "Hypocrisy is the compliment that vice pays to virtue." You have to sit down with that for a little while.
Yeah, right.
Write that one down for later.
Oh, but get this. I thought, that's not Oscar Wilde. I know it's not Oscar Wilde. I was reading a book of French witticisms that very weekend, as luck would have it. And I thought, that's La Rochefoucauld.
Of course, everyone knows that.
And I can't wait. And I couldn't bring myself to do it to him.
Oh, man, you could have.
So I got him back 3
nailed
weeks
him.
later and said, "Bill, you have people on your show and you like to keep a high standard of excellence and accuracy and so on. I wish you wouldn't come on this show and spread misinformation." He said, "What?" And I said, that line you dropped a while back, "L'hypocrisie est l'hommage que les vices rendent avertis." I'm sorry, I forget how it goes in English.
I don't even understand it in English.
Well, he was shaken just a bit,
Good.
but we remained good friends. And he's written the last of his novels, of the spy novels.
We got a lot of feedback coming in, and this guy says you have to ask Dick Cavett about his garbage man growing up. Serial killer,
My garbage man. Oh God, yeah.
Charles Starkweather.
Yeah,
Oh my God, that was your garbage man?
I hate
You
name
know the
dropping,
name?
don't you?
Who, along with his girlfriend, killed 7 people. The Springsteen song "Nebraska" was about him, and his murders were fictionalized in Badlands and Natural Born Killers. Is this true?
You've got somebody on there who knows what he's talking about.
Really? Your
Yeah.
garbage man was a serial killer.
I was in college when I saw headline "Nebraska murder" with 8-point type or whatever the big one is, and I couldn't believe it. In Lincoln, Nebraska, where I lived, and where my folks were, and I called home, and my father said, "Yeah, I knew this unfortunate character. He was our garbage man." My father was an English teacher, and he always befriended the dopes and the sort of forlorn types and all. He said, "I just attract them like a magnet." And they loved him more than anyone they knew. And he used to talk with Starkweather because he said, "I thought the guy had something wrong with him, and he seemed to like to talk to me." And
Perceptive.
Yeah. Good call.
Something wrong with him.
6 blocks away, he was perhaps at that point drawing a knife across the throat of a nice woman.
Wow.
And Carol Fugate, his girlfriend, got out finally about 2 years ago. Claiming
Really?
they never proved that she was involved, and she always denied that she was involved in the killings.
Is he dead, Starkweather?
He is quite dead.
It was funny when you said I hate name dropping.
That's classic.
Yeah, they dimmed the lights the one night. Apparently that's a myth.
Yeah.
The separate electric system, the lights don't dim like they did in the movie.
A lot more dramatic, though, when they do.
Mm-hmm. I like to think of it as.
Yeah.
I had a letter. I found going through some junk that I didn't know how old it was or what I had in it.
You must have a lot of junk.
I do, and I find good, interesting stuff in there sometimes. And here was a letter, and I looked at the return address, and it said Squeaky Frome.
Wow.
No, I tell a lie. Dudley Moore. I'll tell a lie. It was her real first name, Lynette Frome.
Yeah.
And it was a little note about how she enjoyed my work.
That's lovely.
Likewise. What are you going to say?
No, but it said something like, "You don't seem like one of the enemy," or some compliment like that.
That's how you have a good collection throughout your career when you're just stumbling upon notes from Squeaky Frome and Groucho.
Groucho,
Groucho,
Squeaky.
yeah.
That pretty much covers it.
I have signed photos of me with Black Sabbath that are in a frame. I know exactly where they are. He's stumbling. Stumbling on the greatest shit.
Squeaky Frome. That's what I was saying earlier too. Is very interesting about you is the you pretty much run the gamut of personalities that you've I don't know, lack of a better word, hung out with.
Uh-huh.
You there are people that fit into certain niches. Conservatives, liberals, the old hippie or construction worker or something. But for some reason, you were able to really transcend that and kind of spark up relationships with all kinds of people.
I never consciously thought about it, but it certainly seems to be true. And one day I had Mark Gastineau on. Do you remember Mark Gastineau?
Oh, yeah.
The Jet?
He showed me what a quarterback sack was like. And I just started studying Aikido, of martial art Aikido. And I thought, I don't know if this will work. I don't know if I've been studying hard enough.
Mark's a big boy.
You're going to test it on Mark Gastineau.
I was going to step away, and the genius of jiu-jitsu, someone's genius concept is when push-pull and when pull-push. A lot of that's true in Aikido. Aikido is a passive martial art in the sense that you don't attack with Aikido, you respond. So when he came at me with the sack, I was going to drop to the floor so he'd go over me and fall on his face. But I didn't have the nerve to do that, so I tried something else, and I said, "Are you fairly strong?" His head was here, and his shoulders there. I said, would you find it difficult to lift me? And he said, "Oh, no." I said, "Okay," he grabbed me under the arms. He puts me up as if I were Joel Grey and back down. And I said, I didn't have nerve quite to say what I might do, so I said, I'm going to seem heavier this time. And Gastineau says, "I'm going to tell the truth." And I said, "Yeah, that's right, we do, please, but let's go." And I hit me again. And I said, "Okay, it's going to be difficult for you, but lift me." No way. Mark Gastineau could not get me off the floor. And I loved it, and the principle is still not entirely understood.
That was authentic. That actually happened.
Absolutely.
Like
and he sat down scratching his head through the rest of the show. He
picked you up at first, and then on the second attempt, you did something to...
Did some kind of voodoo magic.
Make yourself heavier.
I'm not free to reveal it, but I can demonstrate it.
Defies
it's kind of dull for
laws
radio
of
listeners. No, but I don't know what made me think of that, except what you're saying about various types.
Yeah.
Because the next day, I'd be out on the street and passing a construction site, and they'd say, "Hey, what was that shit with Gastineau? Oh, come on, let me try that." So I had to herniate several construction people.
You could have just walked away, Dick. It's not like you have to have
I didn't know that.
Pick you up.
Of all the tricks you pulled, you had to get the one that would make other men want to just grab you and lift you.
What can we learn from this?
Did you ever get nervous interviewing anyone? I mean, you've interviewed. We see all the names of all the people you've interviewed, a ton of rock icons, and you ever sit across from someone and go, "Oh my God, I hope they don't see me sweating this out"?
Nothing exactly leaps to mind. Usually, once I got out there, I was fine.
No anxiety going into it, like, I can't believe I'm going to talk to John Lennon or Yoko.
No, what I would Yoko.
You talking?
I thought maybe you were talking from the DVD, because on there is a segment of talk. There's a whole show with George Harrison. The whole show is there. And about a minute into it, it just suddenly struck me that And I said so. That a few days ago, Yoko Ono was sitting right there in that very chair, and he leaped into the air like a man putting himself out of the plane. And I assume she was amused by that.
No.
No, huh?
How was the Yoko interview? I find her a little annoying.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a separate interview with Yoko, but it was when John and Yoko were there, and then came back. I don't have any idea how many months later did a second show. But Yoko was not considered a shabby artist even before she married Lennon. She had a kind of a good reputation in the art world. And does some ingenious stuff. When I met them, they were in bed.
You can't call that singing. She does ingenious stuff, though, right?
Oh.
The wailing.
You know what I wonder? I haven't seen all of the DVD, but I wonder if it includes Woman is the Nigger of the World.
Yeah.
Because on the first show I had them on, they wanted to sing Yoko's song, Woman is the Nigger of the World. And I think, and they did do it. They had the band there.
Wow, they let him do that, the network?
Well, afterwards, they decided this was unspeakable and unacceptable. This would have to go. And I said, more's going to go than the song, if that's true. Wasn't I brave? Actually, the guy wasn't in the room at the time. So we hassled over that. I said, I'll get the John Lennon on for you. How much better guest do you want? They sing a piece of their own work, and it doesn't condemn anybody. It's the opposite of the idea that a woman is treated as badly as part of our society, and nobody's going to die if they hear the word nigger in a lyric. They know whose side this singer is on. And so they said, okay. But Dick must read a statement before the song. And so you saw me saying, this song is kind of controversial, and so on, so on, so on. And, I'm sorry if it's going to offend anyone. And I taped this thing against my will. But it got the song on, and the protests poured in, saying things like, why did you make Dick Cavett do that mealy-mouthed announcement before the song? Nobody complained about what they were afraid of.
You know, it would have been great if you said, look, if you read that thing, you said, look, this is the disclaimer, and you read it, and you go, look, this is what I have to read, and then you introduced her as the chink.
Oh, God. Oh, that reminds me of an incident. I don't remember it very well. One of Warhol's ladies told a story about being on a plane back from Europe, and the entire Japanese business apparently got aboard this plane. I'm making it shorter. And she said, and I just thought, oh, my God, I don't want to die like this, surrounded by chinks. And I wanted to say, well, first of all, Japanese aren't chinks. They're nips or jazz.
Right.
And, boy, I think they cut that. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I didn't much care in that case.
Did you know John Lennon personally? Did you ever get to hang out with him?
Yeah, I spent a good bit of time with them up in their suite while it was raining outside when I first met them, and then I put in some hours downtown trying to keep him from being deported by the Nixon administration.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you supposed to use real names here? But the Nixonites, or Richard Nixon's constituents, or the great unindicted co-conspirators constituents, were really eager to get Lennon out of the country, and they thought he would start a riot or something that would overturn the government, and that he would be able to sway vast numbers of people to something the government was afraid might happen.
Well, he was more popular than God, so.
Well, they were right. I mean, he could have if he'd had a malevolent.
There was a huge.
I mean, how would you
paranoia.
recover from losing the Nixon administration? There'd be a lot of empty jail cells. I had several ones on who went to jail. including John Mitchell, the Attorney General.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. Amazing. I'm so sorry for anybody who missed Watergate. Because every day you couldn't wait to get up and turn on the radio, turn on the TV, see the paper. Who's been fired now? What are they going to...
it was very surprising on a daily basis.
Yeah, and to have a disgraceful criminal as president is not a pleasant thing, is it?
Well, scandal wasn't as popular then, or as common in politics, right? Because of the way the media was. So that, I mean, back when Watergate happened, it was...
There was this just underlying trust you had of the people that were in charge. And if not for their policies, you did for the office itself and for the man that was taking that office. And I think now you just assume that behind the scenes they've got to be screwing something up. So back then, though, it was a huge surprise.
It was amazing.
Have a crook.
But did you hear me trying to talk politics with Dick Cavett and sounding like an ass that I am? He's talking about Watergate. I go, yeah, but back then, I just kind of ran out. What a dope I am.
Oh, gee. I do apologize.
No, you were informed. I had nothing. I just realized I just put ... at the end of my sentence and let it hang there.
Where do you
You're
get
too modest.
Where do you get your news? There's so many places: the internet, TV, papers.
I've been wanting to ask friends that thing. People that work at Time or somewhere. How much do you feel you need to read every week? Do you read The Economist and Foreign Affairs and the Times and the Washington Post or the L.A. Times and the Nation magazine and New Republic? And somehow I got the feeling that because things are current, they're important.
Yeah,
and
like you have to know
realize
about
they're
them.
not.
Like you have to know everything that's happening.
It's going on, and I might not know of it.
Well,
thing.
There certainly was a time where it was just the guy, the desk, and the clock at certain hours of the day, and that's where you got your news. Now it's just 24 hours a day, wherever you want, with different spins on it, depending on which network you're watching, and it's
fill the hours.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's kind of hard to get just news without some kind of slant to it one way or another. And
well, hearing you say this, I just realized why on the news channels they waste God knows how many hours a day saying, "Hello, Don. How are you?" "I'm fine, Bill." Talk to the correspondent, say hello, and they say back, and somebody actually will say, "How are you?" Half of Larry King's callers say, "How are you?"
Yeah.
And say, "Shut up and get to the question."
If you add all that up, it covers
God,
a few hours.
How many hours that would be? Adding in, thanks for your insights.
Hey, you ever listen to Bob Grant here in New York?
I did.
Bob,
I was on Bob Grant's show one time.
So Bob Grant people would go, "Bob, how are you?" Finally he would just go, "I'm fine." He hated it, and that's exactly why. It was just a waste of time.
You care.
Yeah. and on a show where it's getting down to the last of the show, and everything you want to hear everything everyone say, and they say, "Hi, Larry, love your show." Yeah, you got a lot of fans here in Hartford, and you can see him want to shoot them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're Starkweather when you need them.
Right. But I'm taking your call. Thank you for taking my call. It didn't have anything to do with the call. I didn't know who you are. A button was pushed probably automatically, and you came on.
But you have to know. You have to be in touch with current events. What do you do? Do you watch a lot of TV news or?
No, I'm weaning my way away from TV
giving
news
up.
because you do start realizing that I've heard this story now 4 times today, and no different. Nothing is added.
Well, Fox News makes it a little different.
Oh well,
they're alert.
They have a fun spin on everything.
We do a lot of we replay a lot of the news teases that happen in our area and throughout the country. Actually, people send them in because we love when they sensationalize things on the news and just pound it into your head like there's imminent danger. Oh, the car you're driving could be unsafe for your children. We'll tell you about it.
Yeah.
And then you get to the story and it's really nothing.
How to Save Your Life tonight at 11.
Tonight at 11, the food you're eating right now could be deadly. What? Well, but I got to eat dinner before 11. What are you doing to me here?
Television is amazingly limited. There isn't much that goes well on television, and certainly they haven't solved the news problem yet. And radio news was, as with everything on radio, hit you deeper than watching a confusing picture. And then that thing the news channel do, somebody is talking interestingly and filling the screen. They then suddenly drop him to 1/16 of the screen up in the corner, and we say the same damn Al-Qaeda soldiers doing the hand walk across that thing because someone mentioned Iraq.
Right.
And you want to say, what am I supposed to watch? The bloody ribbon, the person you reduced to a postage stamp up in the corner, or the exciting news films that are 20 years old by now?
Yeah, it just seems that there's no real credibility anymore in news. There's no Cronkite that you're going to tune in, and he's got that respectability and the credibility. Now you're watching a fashion show, or you're watching the better graphics, and who would sit there anymore and watch that old wooden desk with the ticking clock behind him? Now it's all about the flash, and I think it's very hard for the average American to get news that's accurate these days.
Yeah, and people who talk in their own words. Whose words are they going to talk in? They're going to read to you? And I honestly got the great Tom Brokaw, how he allowed himself to say with a straight face almost every night, now in depth, the such and such story. 84 seconds later, the in-depth story was over. and you went back to in shallow. Now, Brokaw's much too smart for that.
Oh, man.
There's a piece here in your where they have the sheet on you, and it said you were sued in '77 for not showing up for a radio show for a manic depressive episode. Is that something you still kind of deal with? Because I kind of go through I don't know if it's manic, but bouts of just complete misery.
Oh yeah, I did for I think the third time a Larry King with Bob Costas hosting it not many weeks ago. No matter how many times you do talk about depression, people say to you in later months and years, you saved my life. Now, when you hear that, you feel like maybe you've done something good. Or my dad thought, if you could get this, maybe it's all right that he could. We were never able to get him to a doctor until he saw you on Sally Jesse or Larry's show or something like that. It's such it's probably rivaling obesity as epidemic proportions of how many people have it. And thank God we have people like Tom Cruise, who in their infinite wisdom will in effect go on television and tell people not to take their medicine, that Scientology is a better authority.
Get rid of those thetans.
Well, if I looked like Tom Cruise and was banging the girls he banged, I would be smiling all the time too.
Right.
Look like me and be happy.
How could
stupid.
you ever stop? But it must be interesting.
Two-town.
It's got to be interesting for a guy to be that successful and that rich and that dumb.
Yeah.
It's so strange. And people whom he would sneer at, but professionals have said he seems like a man in some trouble.
Yeah.
Did you see Lewis Black on Cruise?
Oh, what, on the Daily Show?
Yeah.
I missed
he
that
said,
one.
Cruise has said that there is no such thing as chemical imbalance. Well, then what the hell is this thing that's happening to you right now? Oh, I love Black.
Yeah.
Hey, a lot of people are coming up with this. Ask Cavett about the guy who died while he was interviewing him. It was some gardener guy, and he thought he put him to sleep when he actually died while being interviewed. Is this true?
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
A lot of people calling in with that one.
Oh, there's no one.
Yeah, a guy died on the show. And when I bring this up, if
you were actually interviewing a guy and he died in front of you.
A moment later, I wasn't actually speaking to him at the moment. But when I tell this at a college or somewhere and say what I'm going to talk about, what about the guy who died on your show? I said it's obviously not a funny subject, but you will be laughing approximately 2.5 minutes into this. And they are, because among the odd facts of it is, of all the people in all the world who would die on a television show, who could be better than a publisher of Prevention magazine and many, many other publications, the Rodale Press, who, by the way, have just came out with. Let's see. Oh wait, was it Rodale? Maybe I should check my facts on this. Yeah, let me take a caesura here. That's a word I picked up on 20 Days to a Powerful Vocabulary. The guy came on, and he was very funny. He'd been on the cover of the New York Times Magazine that week. He looked like Trotsky, if you're up on your Russians, and he had the little beard. He was very amusing, and I made a mental note to have him back. Let's laugh one. When his half hour finished and we get to the 12:30 turnaround, and I brought Pete Hamill, the journalist, out. And while Pete was talking to me and Mr. Rodale was sitting one down, he went, Rodale. Now, you know, if Joey Bishop and Buddy Hackett were on a show together, often one of them would pretend to snore while the other one's talking and get a laugh. And people laughed at his snoring.
Oh, my.
Yeah. I didn't. I thought, this guy's dead. And next thing I knew, I was on my feet standing in front of him and holding his wrist. But there was no time in between. It was like a dream sequence. And I thought, I don't know what the hell a wrist is supposed to show you. But I thought, I'm the captain of the ship. I'm supposed to do something. I said, is there a doctor in the audience? Years later, when Katharine Hepburn I first met her, and she said, before anything else, I want to hear about the man who died on your show. And when I got to that point I said, I hesitated and said, in the audience. And she said, because you knew, is there a doctor in the house, would get a laugh. Right. And of course it would have.
Of course.
Yeah, she was shrewd, that woman. Next thing I remember is they've got his shirt ripped up, showing the chest, you know, and the terrific pounding that an intern from the fire department had. And there were one or two nurses in the audience, and they came up, and another guy. No actual doctor, but he was clearly he had joined the silent majority by the time he hit the floor.
Wow.
Hold on to the floor. By the way, the silent majority, thanks to Gore Vidal for this, it was a phrase that was huge in America some years ago.
Yeah.
It actually comes from Herodotus, and it means the dead.
Really?
And Gore said, it's nice to know that the Republicans know who their constituency is.
The great silent
or that
majority.
The Nixon administration, yeah.
And please tell me that after that guy died on the show, please tell me you had a comic scheduled.
We couldn't have two deaths in a row. Oh God! It was quite awful. And
sure,
is this on live TV?
Because you're out. No, it was never aired.
So it never aired. Okay,
but it might be someday under certain circumstances, which I was talking to somebody about. But there we were with our makeup on and our band over here and our lights, and to show us up good to the people sitting in the audience, and a dead man is in the middle of all this. I remember two stewardesses in red uniforms who had been winking at me in the front row.
Nice.
And I suddenly looked down, and they're both crying, and the audience didn't understand all at once the situation. It sort of moved backwards slowly until, as if people were saying, do you suppose he's dead? And this is part of, many thought it was part of the show and that it was going to blow it off some way.
That is wild.
I had 5 or 6 objects in my pants pocket, none of which were mine. And somebody had handed them to me, his watch and pocket watch and dentine gum, you know, oddities like that. I don't remember ever seeing them or having them handed to me. And we checked, and he was DOA at Roosevelt Hospital.
Wow.
But Hamill, sitting there, when Rodale snorted, turns to me and, forgetting that you can't really whisper something on live telephone, on television with a camera there, and your face in close-up, goes, I think this looks bad. And that was before we knew the worst, but only seconds before. Hamill got a great column the next day. It was just... That was an odd thing about it. I mean, in the crowd of people concerned, pushing, what do we do? Somebody running out with an oxygen machine that had 2 parts and they didn't know how to fit them together. All of that going on. And in the middle is Hamill writing out his column. A born newsman.
Yeah.
And I may be missing the point, but the hottest part of the story to me is those 2 crying stewardesses.
Well, I just made them up for you.
Well, Dick, you're onto a new project. It's called Rock Icons. The DVD comes out today, I guess. 3-disc
I guess
DVD
it does
set.
today. I get to go over to Borders at 6, I guess.
Which Borders?
The one in Columbus Circle.
Okay.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. And when my second book came out, another young writer named C.D.B. Bryan and I went to the Yale Co-op, because we'd both gone there, to do a signing. 4 people showed up. Count them. 4. The publisher had screwed up, which is the publishing world's greatest talent.
We've been in that position
Calvin
a few times.
Trillin, Bud Trillin, or Calvin Trillin, wants to write a book called An Anthology of Authors' Atrocity Stories about publishers.
Wait, when was this that the 4 people showed up?
To a book signing at the Yale Co-op. Here's Dick and this other guy, C.D.B. Bryan, writer, and they're both from Yale, and sat us down and waited for the hordes to arrive. Actually, it was
in that position, you just write your name really
Yeah.
slowly,
Yeah,
hoping more
yeah.
people show up.
And you should have been here when the crowd was here.
You have a 10-minute conversation
Yeah.
with each
Yeah.
person, hoping the line builds.
I think it was 3 people and a cleaning lady.
Oh my God.
You talk to people after you sign for them? Like, so where are you going?
Ant and I have,
Here, I'll give you another one.
Anthony and I have been in a position where thousands of people show up, and then we've also had the handful, and you start like stretching things out. You have 10-minute conversations with each person, and
You propose marriage.
whatever it takes to make it look like it's more than it really is.
Say, will this cause any trouble if I tell you that I went to see a thing on my... you type your own name in eBay, and up comes about 15 things in cassettes and so on.
Yeah.
And Dick Cavett, autograph, rare. Well, I thought, I'll turn to it and see what it looks like.
Oh, boy, here we go.
It was no more my autograph than it was Helen Keller's. And certificate of authenticity.
We just did this bit on our show.
Did you really?
We just had
Well,
somebody
it's
bring
funny
in
you're bringing this
presents
up.
for us,
Uh-huh.
and this guy brought me a picture of Jack Nicholson from
Yeah.
The Shining, signed.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, wow, that's great. So it goes, there's a certificate of authenticity behind the picture in the frame. So I took the picture out and looked, and it was something you can print off a computer at home, and it wasn't signed or no stamp, nothing. And then I went online and started looking on eBay at Jack Nicholson autographs, and they're so different, each one of them, to the point where I didn't know what a real Jack Nicholson...
Well, Jack's a very changeable guy, and when he's in one mood, the autograph looks one way. And
yeah, probably.
Uh-huh.
But I'll tell you, I really lost faith that it was authentic. That's
You got to
for
be
sure.
careful. Like, I bought recently, I actually had a really weird thing. Babe Ruth signed one of Jeter's rookie cards. And I bought that, and that's a really tough find.
Good God. Oh, I hate to break it to you, but I have one.
I've seen those in the store. Like, you walk in the store, and they have, like, Babe Ruth, but it's in, like, that newer blue marker in
I
Vegas.
know.
It's like, who's buying this shit?
There was one at Bourbon Street in New Orleans, and it had 3 baseball players of widely different times and ages, all done in the same flare pen.
Yeah, who's believing that?
I guess there are people dumb enough.
Yeah, there are people.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the eBay thing alone, when you look at that, people are buying the autographs off eBay, and there's no way to verify that.
Well, we're on eBay right now, and under Dick Cavett's name, there's some great stuff. An old Playboy that you were in, 1971,
Yeah.
is selling
Wow.
for $1.95.
I bet that's a very hairy issue.
It is sort of. A lot of people were appalled that I said certain naughty things.
Really?
And it just goes on and on.
I think until Jimmy Carter was in Playboy, it was kind of dirty to be in Playboy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then once
he
Jimmy
said
Carter kind of opened
he confessed to lusting in his soul.
Yes.
I'm looking for a Dick
Is there
Cavett autograph.
is there a lot of Jimi Hendrix?
A lot of Jimi Hendrix,
Yeah.
yes.
He's not on this particular thing we're talking about now, the DVD, because
the Rock Icons DVD,
in alliance with the Hendrix family, brought out one already that was, I think it's in DVD, but it's all over my website as my own book, Cavett, $8.95. Harkett Brace Jovanovic, a book which one comic after another has said saved his life.
Really?
Yeah. They'll say I was out, I'm totally unknown. I played a club in Waukegan, Illinois, and there was never a sound from the audience. You might not as well have been on the stage, and I was suicidal and had another 8 days to go through the same thing again. And I found the part in your book about being stuck in Detroit as a comic in a club called, my God, I never thought that the mind would erase the name of it from, like Freud, I'll put it out of my mind and then it'll come back in. Front row, almost touching your knees, would be a big lug with his back to you, eating lobster with both hands, and his wife, similar. And once in a while, they'd take a glance at you and dismiss you as not anything they were interested in.
God.
And the worst part was you could see yourself. Did you ever have that? Mirrored wall?
Oh, yeah.
That's just death.
That's
because
brutal.
Don't look at it, and yet you can't stop and change your posture and all.
You keep being afraid you're not going to see your own reflection like some kind of a vampire. Like, geez, I'm really not here.
One night in San Francisco, I had the silence, the real silence. And Alan Woody had written me a letter about 3 weeks before saying, a fast note to explode the myth of the hungry eye, the great club and atmosphere and so on that nourished Mort Saul and Nichols and May and so on is long gone. So that encouraged me to go to San Francisco. Rollins had booked me there, and this night it was, you ached from the silence.
Really?
And you'd go, at least I got my Chinese German food joke. That always kills them. Nothing. Chinese German food. An hour later, you're hungry for power. Nothing. And then I heard myself say, "Oh, bless you! I wish I'd had that."
We do that when someone has a joke that bombs on the show. We do a whole thing here.
But that's painful. Were you in Detroit that week I was playing?
Bless you. I wish I'd had that.
The Four Seasons? No, the Four something. Oh, God. Anyway, there was a long pause, and I heard myself say, why don't you all just get the hell out of here?
Now that is going badly.
Yeah. And that was shocking. That didn't get a laugh. And then two, what Lenny Bruce used to call diesel dykes, were in the front row with their boots on the stage. And I was going to kick them off. But I thought better to say, why don't you all get the hell out of here? With this, the two diesel dykes got up and went to, they both looked like Clint Eastwood. It was kind of an interesting pair. And they both got to the door, and I said to one of them who was looking back, there are no refunds. And she said, we'll take a chance. And she got a laugh. All those people who were incapable of laughter and had it left out of them by nature laughed.
You trudged
for
on.
her. And I had a tape of that show. I don't know if I do anymore. It's reel to reel. And you can hear my steps leaving the stage.
You should you should release that.
I know. I really should. If I could. God damn, you're right.
There's nothing, because to me as a comic, like, hear comics, I don't ever want to hear about a comedian having a great show. I could listen to death stories all day.
Yeah, it's human.
Something fascinating.
So even if it isn't,
yeah.
it's the same with me.
All right, Dick. This was awesome. You got to come back on our show because we just touched the surface. I mean, I want to, hear you talk about Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin and all that.
Can I give time for a quick Joplin?
Yes,
sure.
Quick Janis
I
Joplin.
would love Janis, and I think she was on 4 times. And I notice on this, because you get all of her appearances on here that are still in existence. At one point, I don't know why, I said, did I read somewhere where you got a tattoo somewhere near Baltimore? She said, honey, it's a lot closer to home than that. That shows a very complex comic mind. Raquel and my dear friend Janice and my dear friend Raquel Welch were on one show together, along with Brinkley of Huntley and Brinkley. Huntley of Huntley and Brinkley, and Douglas Fairbanks Jr. Perfect combination of people.
Really?
Jesus, you have great friends. I hang out with these zeros.
Oh, God.
All right.
But, oh, God, now wait a minute. I've dislodged my story from my own brain.
Raquel Welch.
Oh, yeah, there was something about Virgin something. I actually wasn't listening very closely and was immediately snapped awake by Raquel saying, well, I think Janice would be perfect casting for the Virgin. And this got a kind of, there's going to be trouble. But Janice just said, ain't that good an actress, honey. This was perfect at that moment. Here's something that'll strike you as virtually without humor. I said to the great, majestic, august figure of Chet Huntley, who loved Raquel Welch and announced it on the show, and I said, this needs a footnote. You can't leave because there'll be nobody left in the country saying goodnight, David, except Julie Nixon. Now, would you believe that that got the opposite of what happened just now? It was... No, I'm telling you. Watch the show, you'll see.
Dick, why don't you get the hell out of here?
Well, I don't mind if I do.
It's the Dick Cavett Show, The Rock Icons. It's a 3-DVD set, and you're going to be signing copies of this at Borders in Columbus Circle sometime today?
I go over there at 6 and get my body makeup on.
A lot of great performances from Janis Joplin, Bowie, George Harrison, Sly and the Family Stone, Stevie Wonder, and many, many more. You got to come back and tell more stories, Dick.
Yeah, I got a few more.
We're happy you came. We thought you didn't come last week. We were like worried, Tavis not going to show up. He kind of canceled us. We're very happy you came.
Yeah, what did I need with this
show?
We're happy you came.
No, thought you were on to us.
All right.
On to our potty mouth show.
You guys, let's thank Dick Cavett for stopping by.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Dick.
You're welcome anytime if you'd like to come back to this mess.
I can stay now for a couple hours.
If you want. I mean, we just got to get a Supercross guy in that's doing has a movie out, and we got Mark Maron, who's a very talented radio guy.
Screw him.
He's a lefty. He's a lefty. Big time lefty.
Is that good?
I don't know. You tell me.
Lefty.
I come from the time when they tied children's arms behind their backs who were left-handed.
I think he means as opposed
Politics.
to right.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, yeah.
He knows.
Let me explain a joke to Cavett.
I'm explaining to Dick Cavett.
He's too smart for us. We're going to take a break, and we'll continue. Dick Cavett might be
I like a
joining
nice
us,
joke once I know about it.
or he might be stepping out. We don't even know at this point. Dick Cavett, everyone.